Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, part of the BetRivers Network. And we come to you as we get ready for Championship Sunday. 3 more games left in this NFL season. The weather will not be the factor that it could be, considering what's going on around the country. It's not going to impact these games on any historic or any crazy level, despite the fact we have, middle of the country temperatures at 10 below zero, temperatures in the east at 0 or 5 above, and wind chills -10. So we could wind up with crazy weather. We didn't get it in either of the places that will play this weekend, Denver and Seattle. Right now, New England, for the most part, a 4.5 point to 5/5 point favorite because of the situation with Denver having to go to the backup quarterback in Stidham, who hasn't played in a long time, but obviously has been in Denver for 2 years and has obviously spent the entire week as the number 1 quarterback. So it's not like he's been thrown in with no reps or nothing. He's had a whole week to prepare, and he's had Sean in his ear for an entire week. And obviously, they feel he will be somewhat prepared for the game. So much will revolve around the young quarterbacks, having the backup quarterback and what that means historically, and then having May in his first road playoff game, and that makes a difference, because I can tell you this, folks, there are, and I've been to almost everywhere in the NFL, and I've been in a lot of the settings at playoff time. There are very few places. I would say there are exactly 0 places that are any louder than Denver is. Denver is a phenomenally tough place to play, not just because of the altitude, but because they have a rabid fan base and a very loud, vocal fan base. And it is a place where you have to understand noise is going to impact the visiting quarterback, and that will be something May will have to deal with. There's been talk of maybe activating Dobbins. That hasn't happened yet. I figure if they're going to activate Dobbins, who's a good back, at this point, they feel they can get some action out of him, because otherwise, why would you activate him at this point? But clearly, so much is 2 good defenses. The Denver defense getting a lot more attention. The New England offense getting the attention, and May, obviously, one of the finalists for the MVP. He will finish second. He will not win it. The Ram quarterback, obviously, Stafford will wind up, I think, being the MVP, and he should. But May will finish second. The other finalists are Lawrence, Allen, and a running back, and you can figure out which one is on the list, and he obviously is the highly versatile one from San Francisco, who has been honored with being one of the 5 finalists for the MVP, but he won't win. The 4 quarterbacks will produce it, but it will be Stafford, who had 46 touchdowns and 8 intercepts during the regular season. He will wind up being the MVP this year, and rightly so. I think he earned it. I think he has had an MVP season. I think he's had a tremendous season, and not that May didn't. May has had a really good season, but I think he deserves the MVP. I think he's earned that with his consistent play, and he will obviously be counted on very heavily to try and take the Rams to the Super Bowls. Rams and Seattle will meet for the 3rd time. Seattle is the favorite to win the Super Bowl right now of the 4 teams. They were very impressive against San Francisco. They have lost half of their very talented running back tandem. So Walker now will be the man for Seattle, and that might lead them to throw the ball a little more than they might have in the past. But that is a very good all-around team. We'll get to that. But first with New England and Denver. it's a surprise that these teams are here. I thought Buffalo would be here. We know how heartbreaking the game was and what it has meant and what it has caused in Buffalo. The controversial call. I did not think it was a catch. I didn't. I sympathize with the Bills. I also thought that in the final seconds, they could have got a pass interference call in the corner of the end zone. And then, of course, we know that Josh Smith knocks wide open for a touchdown. But Josh didn't have one of his better games that day, despite putting up the points. Now, New England favored because of the injury and the backup having to play at quarterback for Denver. But understand this is a very tough place to play on a lot of levels. The Pats are 0-4 lifetime playing playoff games in Denver. It's not easy to win in Denver. It's not easy to win a big game in Denver. It's tough to do. And May will be facing a defense that led the league in it's not a defense that can't give up plays. It can. And it's vulnerable to the tight end. So they have to be, and he likes to throw the ball to the tight end. And that's something Denver has to deal with. But Denver's pass rush has been very consistent and very good and at the top of the charts. May has been sacked 57 times and fumbled 14 times this year. He also has been sacked 10 times with 6 fumbles in the 2 playoff games and hasn't played particularly well. Their defense played exceptionally well against the Chargers, and they ran into a situation where their defense played well against Houston, and Stroud had one of the nightmare games of all time. But May has not been great, and he will face a very aggressive, very well-schooled defense in this game come Sunday. I think so much will be placed at the feet of Stidham. And the expectations, and so many people just writing Denver off because they're playing with a quarterback who doesn't have a lot of experience, who has not shown a lot in the NFL. And also, anytime you're dealing with a backup in this kind of game, it is very, very hard. But I think if you look in the games he has played, he has thrown the ball a lot. And I think you have to take Sean Payton into account here. Sean Payton is a terrific coach, a terrific leader, and he is bold even to the point of being defiant. He will have trick plays ready. He will be aggressive. He will not be afraid to throw the ball. And he will challenge his team and his quarterback to win the game. Now, he has evidently told his team, from what I understand, exactly what Parcells told the Giants when Hostetler replaced Sims. Hostetler will not cost you this game. Maybe one of you is going to make a dumb mistake or make a very big mistake on the field or make a big miscue, and one of you guys is going to do it, but it will not be this quarterback. And he has tried to pump the quarterback up, even to the point of it being, we know a little bit for show. But that doesn't mean it won't work. And I think the quarterback will play okay. I'm not saying he's going to throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. What I am saying is I don't think he will be a disaster. Denver's going to have to play really well on defense. They're going to have to get that big turnover. They're going to have to get a big play from Mims, whether it's in the passing game or on special teams. I think that goes without saying. But I think the line's a little out of whack. I think New England would have been Pick'em or 1. Probably Pick'em if Knicks hadn't gotten hurt. So New England deserves to be favored. But I think this is a tall order to play in Denver. I think it's a very tough spot for a young quarterback who has not played a playoff game on the road and who has shown vulnerabilities in the postseason. He has been sacked 10 times. He played good defenses, and he played a tremendous defense with Houston, the best defense in the league. But he's been sacked 10 times, and he's fumbled the ball 6 times in 2 playoff games. That's vulnerability. That happens in this game, they'll lose. And I think this game is going to be exceedingly close. I don't think it will be very high scoring. But just because I don't think it will be high scoring doesn't mean that I don't think either coach is going to back away from giving his quarterback chances to make big plays. I think they will. I just think they're going to have trouble making them. And the one that does, the one that gets that kick return, the one that gets that turnover on the 10-yard line, or gets that strip, that sack and strip and run for a touchdown, that's going to make the difference in this game. I think this game is very close. I think people have underrated how hard it is to play in Denver. I think it is without question as hard a place to play in a big game setting or a postseason setting as anywhere in the country. I expect both defenses to play very well. I like Peyton. I have great respect for Vrabel, and he'll have his team ready to go. But I like the boldness, and I like the aggressiveness, and I like the daring that Peyton brings to this kind of game. And I think if there's anybody who can get a young quarterback pumped up and maybe even full of confidence that isn't real, but make a believer out of his quarterback in a short span, and also give him plays that he can make plays with, I think Denver's going to win. I'll be honest with you. I think it's a field goal game, and I think Denver's going to win by a field goal. I will take the points with Denver. And I believe that this game will probably be decided very late, which would surprise nobody. Probably come down to somebody making a big play on specials or a big play somewhere. Because, driving at 80 yards for 13, 14 plays against either of these defenses is going to be very difficult. I just think Denver wins. Now, there's no question, with Buffalo not here, there is no question, with Josh Allen not here, that the AFC will be an underdog. And depending on what kind of score comes out of Rams Seattle, they could be a decided underdog. If Denver goes with its Stidham and somehow ekes out a victory, but does it with defense and he doesn't look good, they are going to be a big underdog against either one of these teams. And Seattle and Rams are going to be favored, and probably fairly strongly favored in the Super Bowl, whichever one wins. A lot of people think Seattle's the best team. I've thought all along the Rams are the best team, except I have to say this. The Rams have not been great at protecting leads. Look at the games they lost this year. Games they had no right losing. And a big part of it is what they have to carry into this game again. And that is their problems on special teams. They are not a good special teams outfit. They changed their special teams coach late in the season. A very, very difficult thing to do, and one that usually will not produce results. And in the Carolina game, obviously, got a punt blocked. McVay's a tremendous coach. Now, nobody can knock the job that McDonald has done in Seattle. He's done an incredible job since he's been there. McVay is as good a coach as there is in the league. We would always rank Andy Reid first, but McVay is really good. Halftime adjustments, having his team ready, having the offensive game plan there. But he has shown vulnerabilities this year down the stretch, and by his own admission has not coached exceedingly well in the playoffs. Actually thought that he made some real errors in last week's game, which they survived. The bottom line is, though, they have incredible explosiveness. You know, they want to utilize the tight ends. They will utilize 2 tight ends, even 3 tight ends. We know that. They have the best receiving core, the best receiving tandem in the sport. In Nakua, and obviously Adams, who is lethal inside the red zone, and made an incredible catch on the sideline. Nakua is, you have in this game, in this Rams-Seattle game, you have clearly, with the 2 teams, the 2 best all-around receivers in the sport. One caught 129 balls and one caught 119. Each quarterback, and both had very good years. Sam had a very good year. He didn't have a year as good as Stafford's, but he had a very good year with 25 touchdowns and 14 intercepts and some very big plays. Now, Sam can make a big mistake. We know that. I've always been a Sam guy. You know that since his days with the Jets. But I always believed in him, and I still do. And it's quite a great story that he is this close to a Super Bowl, considering what he's had to go through. And he can get the job done. And he's not afraid to come back from making a mistake, which he clearly has shown the propensity for. But you have great receivers in these games. These are very well-balanced teams. Clearly, Seattle's home in a tough place to play, and they have an edge on specials. Overall, they probably have an edge on defense, but do not sell the Ram defense short in this game. I think that Seattle's going to have trouble running the ball. They're going to have to make plays in the air, especially with the injury to Charbonnet. They're going to have to make plays in the air. Not that Walker isn't capable of making big plays. He is. But that 2-headed running monster is down to 1. And the team that is able to run the ball, because they're both clearly capable of making big plays in the passing game. We know that. You're talking about big time receivers. Guys who are, premium targets and who put up big numbers every single week. A lot of people think that Nakoa's year this year might be the best year that any wide receiver's ever had. And I think, pound for pound, counting every part of the game, he might be the best wide receiver I've ever seen. And that's saying a lot. That's how highly productive he is, how durable he is. He can run it. He can hurt you from the running game. He catches a ton of balls. He's able to break away. He's got great hands. We saw him drop a touchdown pass in the Carolina game, which was stunning because, you'd never see him drop a ball. These teams have played, listen, they've had great years. And we would expect them to play nothing short of a classic game. You know, why would we think anything but? They've had that kind of year. They are those kind of teams. I mean, the Rams, I picked the Rams in the preseason. I picked the Rams and the Ravens. Before the playoffs started, I picked the Rams and the Bills. I went with the two quarterbacks. And obviously, this game's in Seattle because Seattle was able to make that tremendous comeback and win that game. That was one of the 4 games this year that, let's be honest, the Rams should have won. The Rams had a 30-14 lead in that game in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's crazy. And this year they've lost 4 games that they had a great chance to win. 2 of them were above 95 percentile at one point, and they lost both of them. And they lost this game to Seattle 38-37. Now, I don't know if this game will be that kind of game again, but I do think it's going to be hard to keep these teams with these passing games out of the end zone. I mean, I just think it is. You know, in that game, Nakua had 12 receptions, 16 targets, 12 receptions for 225 yards and 2 scores. It's one of the great games ever. I mean, you can't have a better game. You know? And clearly, Seattle has balance. It has weapons. It's good defensively. It's good offensively. It's good on special teams. It can run the ball. Walker can be extremely explosive. In that game, he had a 55-yard run. He had 100 yards on 11 carries. We know who Sam's favorite target is. Make no secret of that. Plus, later in the season, he has gone more to Bonner, that tight end, a lot. And you can count on him to be a factor in this game. He's made a lot of big catches, and he's gotten more and more as the season has progressed. He really has. You know, he had, against the Rams, he had 11 catches, Bonner. Now, I don't know if he's going to get 11, but he's a factor. And in recent games, the second game he caught 6. Those have been his biggest games of the year, have been against the Rams. The bottom line is he's become a much bigger factor late, and they're going to have to throw the ball. I don't think there's any question about it. I think if you ask me which one's going to do a better job of shutting down the running game completely, I think the Rams will against Seattle. And if that happens, it's going to put a lot of pressure on Sam. There's not much to pick from with these two teams. You know, that they've had really tremendous seasons. There's no other way to say it. I mean, Seattle wins 14 games. The Rams, who went 12-5. Seattle scored 483 points. The Rams scored 518, I think. I would think the winner will be right around 30. I think the guys you expect to put up the numbers will put up the numbers. And it may even be the case of the last one with the ball wins. It could be that kind of game again. Like we said, these are two very, very evenly matched, good teams, and this is a tough place to play. Seattle's a 2.5-point favorite, which is legit. They've earned that. They've played well late in the season. They've played better than the Rams in recent weeks. They made the comeback against the Rams in week 16, I think it was, week 16. They played well last week. They exploded all over the Niners. I've been on the Rams all year, and I think the Rams are going to find a way. I think it's a special season, and I think Stafford might wind up with the big double this year. He might get the MVP and then get the Super Bowl MVP. I can see that happening because I think the winner of this game is going to win the Super Bowl. And I was on the Rams before the season started. And I'm not getting off them now. So, and I picked them over the Bills when the postseason started. I thought the two quarterbacks would be here. Obviously, Buffalo got another heartbreaker. They've had nothing but heartbreakers in the playoffs. They've been there year after year. They've had nothing but heartbreakers. And to be fair, Josh Allen didn't play well. He put up points, but he didn't play well. And if he played to his regular level, they would have won. But they didn't. So I think Denver in a surprise, and I think the Rams, which is not a surprise to me anyway, in what should be two very, very close. And let's be honest, we've had great playoff games this year. We've had incredibly competitive playoff games that have gone right to the wire. Don't be surprised if these games do again. So I'm going with Denver plus the points and the Rams plus the points also, but the Rams to win it outright. I think Denver's going to win outright too by a field goal. But they're getting the 4.5 to 5 points. Now get a $10 bonus bet from BetRivers to use on championship weekend. Enter the bonus code Francesa126 in the BetRivers app to claim your bonus bet. The code again, Francesa, Francesa 126. Offer expires on January 25th. Must be 21. Eligible players only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-GAMBLER. A lot of the country is going to be snowed in, iced in, stormed in, which will make these games incredibly big in terms of audience. The NFL has had huge numbers so far. There's not any reason to believe they won't break records with this weekend, especially with the storm that is engulfing the entire country, basically. We have 3 games left. We should have good, competitive, exciting games on Sunday. And then we'll see if the AFC can hold its own in the Super Bowl, because they're going to be, I would think, fairly decided underdogs no matter who wins between Rams and Seattle. Enjoy your last real football Sunday, because after that, all you have left is Super Bowl Sunday, which isn't like a typical football week in any way. In a lot of ways, I hate to say it, but the NFL season as we know it ends this Sunday night. We'll see you later.